Your power goes out, remember just how inconvenient your life can be. No lights, no refrigeration, no heating or cooling, no electronics. But with the Generac Home Standby Generator, you'll have power when you need it. Our Generac generators automatically provide backup power after sensing a power outage, so your life goes on uninterrupted. Get a free 10-year warranty with the purchase of any air-cooled generator. Call Generac Generators today. Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
Streaming from the Tampa Bay 28 Weather Center in Studio A, this is Dennis Phillips Live. Brought to you by Generac Generators. Life is primitive without power.
How you doing, everybody? It is a Wednesday night edition of Dennis Phillips Live. Thanks for checking in. We are live on the spot. We're live on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, pretty much everywhere. And we're going to do something we don't normally do. Usually we jump right into conversations. And yes, we have all the folks here. How you doing? Nice to see y'all. If you're watching on TV, you can just kind of hang back. But we're going to jump right into the weather because we actually have some weather to talk about. Rare, but we do. And we had a severe thunderstorm warning that just expired for Pasco County. It was this area right here. And again, it just expired at 7:30. I mean, it was moving north at 10 miles an hour. The big issue with it was gusty winds, and there was a report of winds close to 60 miles an hour around Dade City. This area was moving north. It went through Zephyr Hills, east of Brooksville, over toward Lacucci, Dade City, back toward Ridge Manor, St. Leo's area, Zephyr Hills. And, this will continue to kind of push from south to north. We talked about this yesterday. We have got a pattern change on the way, and that is going to bring some real significant changes to the timing of our rain. Matter of fact, while I'm over here, let's just go ahead and jump right into Futurecast, because usually over the last, 10, 12, 14 days, we've had a lot of sunshine during the afternoon. You get an east-southeast wind, and then all of a sudden, you get those late day and early evening storms. And how many times have you heard us say, look, it's all about the wind direction. All we got to do is see those winds change from southeast to a southwest direction, which is going to happen overnight, and that completely changes our weather, like completely. Instead of sunny all day and rains late afternoon, early evening, with the rain moving toward our coast, you get a wind coming in off the Gulf. It bumps up the humidity. I'm telling you, you're going to notice it tomorrow. It's going to be a lot muggier, and you're going to start to see rain first thing in the morning. So there's a look at Futurecast. You see everything moving from south to north. In fact, I'm going to even go back. That's 7 a.m. But watch, as we go back to about 2 or 3 a.m., we are still looking at that southerly, that south to north flow, bringing some rain in even in the overnight. So my apologies in advance for light sleepers. You're going to hear some thunder rumbling overnight west of I-75. And that's tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock. And there's going to be a real pronounced area of scattered showers moving in from the Gulf. And there you see it. That's 7 a.m. That's 11 a.m. So tomorrow, not the greatest beach day, because even though that rain will move inland in the afternoon, I think the clouds are going to linger. So here, let me go back and do hour by hour for you. So we're going to go to, there's 8 a.m., right? And by the way, you get an onshore flow like this, it often can produce a water spout or two. And every now and again, a water spout can move onshore as a brief tornado. So Greg will be in the morning. Allie will be in the morning, kind of let you know if anything gets a little feisty. I don't think it necessarily will, but it's a possibility. So there's 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. There's 11 o'clock. There's lunchtime. You notice the rain starts to move inland. It's literally a flip-flop, a 180 of what we've had over the last week or two. And that means by 4 o'clock, the heavier rains go inland. And then the rains stop along the coast. And then by 6 or 7 o'clock, check it out, all of the rain is on the East Coast. So it's a reversal of what we've seen of late, and that is going to continue right on through the end of next week. Now, here's the difference. On Friday and Saturday, a little less moisture to work with, so whatever's out there, the timing won't change. There might be a few coastal showers in the morning, but the bulk of the action will be inland afternoon and East Coast in the evening. So your forecast tonight, dodging some raindrops through the evening hours. A few are possible overnight. I'm going to show you the 7-day. There it is. So high temperatures, upper 80s to around 90 tomorrow, but with more clouds coming in, we're not going to see those mid-90s, because at least across areas west of I-75. Now, you live in Polk, Hardy, DeSoto Highlands, you'll still go low 90s, maybe mid-90s, because your rain won't arrive till later in the day. But the one thing you notice there, look at Sunday and Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. There is a significant increase in rain chances and in clouds. So check this out. So this is a look at the next 5 days. Tomorrow, decent coverage. A little drier Friday. Moisture picks up again on Saturday. And then Sunday and Monday, we are in it with very good rain chances. Now, that being said, if I were to sit here and say, hey, guys, what do you think the GFS is showing? What do you think? You know, what do we say? We call it the GFS-a-cane for a reason. Because for whatever reason, the GFS loves to spin up hurricanes. I say that as a little bit of a tease, a hint, because there is the latest GFS. And yet again, it does bring in a hurricane to Florida on June 4th. It's a bunch of nonsense. Absolutely ridiculous. How many times have we said this? The GFS, for whatever reason, just always blows up systems in the 7 to 10 day outlook. And here it is. So this is where we are today. I mean, that's only 8 days out, which is actually kind of, I would say, scary if you didn't know any better, but it's kind of ridiculous. So there's Friday, little drier air. There's Saturday, little drier air. Sunday, the moisture starts to build. Rain chances, I mean, you know, it's not washout. I wouldn't cancel any weekend plans, but you will see some better coverage into next week. And then all of a sudden, look at what the GFS does. There it is, coming in from the south and going into Florida. Is that possible? Look, even a blind squirrel finds a nut from time to time. It's always possible. But the euro is far more reasonable. Here's Friday, there's Saturday, there's Sunday. I mean, unsettled is a perfect way to describe it. Lots of clouds, some scattered showers, right on through the middle of next week. The good news is that's going to help out on the drought. There's your GFS, there's your euro. So by no means would you consider, to quote my cousin Vinny, identical. There's the GFS, there's the euro. I would put my money on the euro more so than the GFS. But what it is doing is keeping a disorganized system, increasing the rain chances rather dramatically as we go into next week. So there you have it. All right, we've got rain tapering off overnight, morning showers tomorrow along the coast, pushing inland later on in the day. And then by the time we roll into Friday and Saturday, coverage a little bit lower. And then I think by early next week, the coverage begins to increase a little bit. So I'm going to tell you something. So dating back to my days at Penn State, all right, me and my buddy Bill Landis, who was a DJ at X103 in State College, we used to go to the Johnstown War Memorial and the Altoona Jaffa Mosque to watch WWF wrestling. True story. Those were back in the days with, you know, Sergeant Slaughter and the Iron Sheik and Andre the Giant and, you know, a lot of the old school guys. And then it kind of turned into something bigger than life shortly thereafter. Well, one of our workers. Rick, who's been in radio in this market forever and worked in print, has a lot of contacts, and he is friends with, do you remember B Brian Blair from the Killer Bees? Well, I do, back in the mid-'80s. B Brian Blair is in studio, and after this break, we're gonna bring him in, we're gonna talk Florida wrestling, we're gonna talk anything, what your questions are. That is live, coming up in 90 seconds as DPL continues. All right, we're gonna break. All right, we'll bring this over. You will be right here, so come on over.
Okay.
And yeah, we'll just, here, we'll be over this way. I'll hold the chair because it scoots on you. Got it, all the way up, all right. And we'll move here so you will be there. I think there's your camera there, and I'm right here. How you guys doing? All right, so welcome, thank you. We are live. Well, we're out of the break in 55 seconds, but we are now streaming right now.
Cool.
And so a lot of folks, and we'll talk about this when we come back, but why don't we start on how you got started? I like, that's an interesting story. You're local, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so we'll talk about that. And then we can just kind of go in whatever direction you want to. I mean, we'll talk about the politics, talk about, I think there's a lot of interest in the documentary, the Netflix documentary with Hulk Hogan. I mean, we can touch on that. And whatever you want to go and whatever folks want to. Daniel's saying AEW Wrestling has an event in Clearwater Beach in July. So I'm not sure what that is, Daniel. But that's an interesting question, too, because WWF was the big one. And then it kind of went off into different branches, yes?
Yes.
All right, so we can touch on that as well. We are back in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. Again, really cool guest tonight, B Brian Blair, part of the Killer Bees. And you, welcome to DPL, by the way.
Thank you, Dennis.
Local guy, so how did you kind of get the start? Because I think so many folks, watch professional wrestling and they think, how did that happen? And I remember reading a lot of people were athletes in other sports and then ended up in wrestling. I mean, football, Randy Savage, baseball.
Sure.
I mean, how did it happen with you?
Well, I was an athlete as well. Since junior high school, I wrestled, played football, baseball, track and field. Just never wanted to be poor. Always wanted to, I came up from humble beginnings, and I saw Jack Briscoe on television in Championship Wrestling, and there was a guy named Gordon Soley who was the announcer, and he just was such a good announcer. Just like you're a weatherman and you get interested in the weather, by the weatherman, he kind of educates you. And Gordon Soley was the kind of guy that could make a blind man see. He would just illustrate wrestling so well, and Jack Briscoe was just the epitome of a good guy. And it was amazing, Dennis. It was just a dream. It was actually a dream that came true, and it just shows, if you believe, you can achieve, and if you achieve, you'll receive. You just got to keep pushing your passions.
Well, we've got some video here that I think that y'all sent, and so what are we looking at here in some of these spots? Are you?
That's the Fort Homer Hesterly Armory. That's where they would wrestle on Tuesday nights. And back then, Florida was a territory. You would wrestle in Tampa on Tuesday, Miami on Wednesday, West Palm Beach on Thursday. Friday would be Fort Lauderdale. Saturday, the Bayfront Center or Lakeland. Sunday would be Orlando and Eddie Graham Sports Center sometime. And just Monday, West Palm Beach, and Tuesday back to Tampa. Television in the daytime at 106 North Albany Street, where you're looking right now.
So it was a grind.
It was a grind, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Over 300, sometimes 350 days a year.
Now, how does one get? I mean, when I remember watching in the '80s, I mean, we were talking about this earlier. It was definitely, some of the old school guys. You looked at them and they were big and they were strong, but you didn't see the speed that I noticed with you. With the Killer Bees, because I remember that vividly. Is all the moves that y'all make. How much work does that take to get to that level?
It takes a lot of work. It's a very athletic business. I mean, you have a predetermined ending for a long time. We protected the business. I mean, used to beat people up inside of that sportatorium. As a matter of fact, the only 3 people that made it during 3 summers were a man named Paul Orndorff, Mr. Wonderful, who played at the University of Tampa. He was a stud. Then he got drafted by the New Orleans Saints, and Hulk Hogan and myself. Everybody else took off. People left without their clothes. People left bloody, beaten, and just tattered. And it was a very difficult way to get into the business.
Now you just brought up something I found very interesting, and I know a lot of folks wonder about that. You said for a long period of time the winner was predetermined. Did that change over the years?
Well, you know, there's many times when you'd have to fight for your life, and there's many times where, you know, you would actually get into a total fight. But for the most part, the finish was predetermined. You had 2 separate locker rooms. There's no way to talk to each other, and you just went out there and you knew your craft.
So when we're talking about the old school, the Killer Bees, like I said, what I remember seeing most about that was all the speed that you guys did with this, and then we talked about WrestleMania, because I went to the very first WrestleMania closed circuit broadcast. It was like 30 miles outside of State College, and it became a spectacle. I mean, how did that happen? What do you attribute the popularity to?
Cable television, without a doubt. And the combination of cable television, Hulk Hogan and Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon had the money and the cable television, which at one time TBS out of Georgia, Turner Broadcasting, had the first cable television, and I was actually in that team that we would go out into Wheeling, West Virginia, Columbus, Ohio, and those places would be sold out off of cable television, and the business geniuses of the wrestling industry realized that that's a gold mine out there, cable television. And so Vince McMahon purchased another cable television station, and you know, the world, all of a sudden, the territory became the world, and the small territories started folding, and Vince went and robbed all of the top talent from all of the territories. Before it was the AWA, the NWA. Then you had you had WWF was actually a WWF was a territory. And soon Vince and the WWF ate up all the small territories. And then Turner Broadcasting stayed together and became WCW. And soon WCW folded. Vince bought that. Then now you've got Nick Khan and AEW, the Jacksonville Jaguars' son. The Jacksonville Jaguars owner's son, Nick Khan, started AEW, which is great because it gives all the talent another outlet to wrestle.
Well, I guess it makes sense. I guess the more opportunities, for people who might not be able to get into it as easily as they used to now have a better opportunity. I'm looking at some comments here. A lot of the names that people are coming up, just all. Sting, so Ric Flair, Sting, Lex Luger, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, Jim Cornette.
Yes.
I mean, these are all, and these are household names. Now, what about the Florida area? Is Florida a connection for wrestlers, or are they just as likely to come from any place across the country?
Florida was a hotbed of wrestling. I mean, Jack Briscoe, my hero, you know, he was amazing, just an amazing talent. And his brother Gerald still lives here. I'll actually have lunch with him on Friday. And anyway, the guys, most of the guys you see, Dennis, either started in the States. It would be Florida and Minneapolis, and then Calgary was a big Stu Hart. And by the way, happy birthday to Natty Neidhart today. She's very popular, and her uncle Bret Hart was one of the Killer Bees. Him and Jim the Anvil Neidhart were the Hart Foundation, and the Killer Bees and the Hart Foundation had a tremendous rivalry. And we were in WrestleMania 2, 3, 4, the big event, you know, the first Royal Rumble, the first Survivor Series, all the first European tours, and it was an amazing life, amazing career, and thank God the fans, we have meet and greets, and they still love to see us.
Yeah, they do. I mean, and there's so many documentaries out there now. When we come back after the break, I want to talk a little bit about the Netflix documentary out about Hulk Hogan, because, you know, obviously Terry, a local guy, and it's a very interesting documentary, some that is, you know, pulling the curtain back a little bit on some things, and I'm curious what your take would be on some of that, and that's coming up in 90 seconds as DPL continues. All right, break. All right, awesome. Let's see.
I'm actually excited about the weather, Dennis. I mean, I live on a small lake.
Where do you live?
In Forest Hills on Northeast Lake, and the lake is the lowest it's ever been. In over 40 years, I've lived on this lake, same lake.
Yeah,
I bought this house when I was 23 years old.
I think we're finally getting some decent rains over the next 8 or 9 days.
No,
In fact,
yeah.
I was gonna call
We've
that
had some
up too.
We've had some good rain the last, with the exception of 2 nights last week.
Yeah, here we go. This is like the 7-day forecast. I mean, well, yeah, look at that. Look at Florida. I'm going to show that map, actually. Let's talk about that. So Brian was interested in the weather. He said he needs some rain where he's living. So all right, we're coming back in 45 seconds, so we'll show that map coming out. In fact, here, let's take that right now. And there it is. Yeah, for the folks who are watching right now, not on TV, clearly, I know, right, Charlotte? 2 breaks, crazy. Yeah, Daniel's talking about the Heart Foundation. So Martin's saying, I saw the Hulk show, very cool but sad ending, which, I mean, you know, in general, you could say, I mean, it was just, Hulk was a very polarizing figure, but boy, that man knew how to put on a show. I mean, that man really made an incredible name for himself. And you said the background of that story. Oops, we're coming back in. Welcome back to Dennis Phillips Live. We're sitting here, a couple of things. So first of all, Brian's like, Dennis, I want to talk about some weather. We need some rain. So for the folks who are curious, we did talk at the beginning of the show about what's happening out there right now, but check it out here. So here's a look at the next 7-day forecast, the QPF forecast, and that red color covers pretty much the entire state. So is your house in there somewhere?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Well, so that's a good 3 to 4 inches of rain over a 7-day stretch. Now, you know, we can get 3 to 4 inches of rain in 10 minutes. Or at least an hour, but you've lived here most of your life, yes?
Yes.
Okay, and I'm curious because before we get into some of the other stuff, you went from wrestling to politics.
Correct.
Which was interesting. How did that happen?
Well, I was actually a businessman. After wrestling, I gave my notice in New York and Salisbury, Maryland. I told Vince.
You were in Salisbury?
Yeah.
That was my first TV job in Salisbury, Maryland.
I've wrestled in every city over 500,000 people in the United States of America.
Were you in the Wycomico County Civic Center?
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah, about 6,000 wrestling matches. But anyway, the weather. I've lived in Florida been on this small lake for over 40 years, and it's the lowest I have ever seen it. I mean, you can almost walk across it.
Yeah, well, and you know, people, you know, they're still saying, well, this will end the drought. It takes a long time to get as low as that lake is, and it's going to take a long time to get it back.
And it evaporates, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
When it's hot?
Yeah. So I mean, it takes a prolonged. Like if we were to have a tropical storm sit on top of us for about 4 days, then we might start to see those totals really come up. Otherwise, we're just going to have to wait until the summer months. So we were talking briefly, you know, about the Netflix documentary.
Correct.
And about Hulk. And what is one of your memories, or some of your memories that you have? And I'm sure there's millions of them, but ones in which, you know, Hulk seemed to be larger than life in so many ways.
You know, he was, Dennis, and he was such a good-hearted person. I mean, I was around Terry before, you know, when he started, when we were getting stretched and we were all sweaty and nobody's just, you know, trying to survive, and we had a dream, and we had to fend off all these guys that really knew what they were doing, and Terry was a tougher guy than people ever give him credit for. I mean, he was a big guy and a strong guy, but he also knew how to wrestle. He learned how to hook, and he actually stretched this guy that was an NCAA champion a few times, 2 or 3 times. Vern Gagne hooked him and made him tap out. But anyway, Terry was just a very affable person. And, you know, when I go back to his documentary, I remember him saying, they asked him, what was the best time of your life? And he said, you know, back when the kids were young and Linda was a good wife. And, you know, I realized that, you know, as I'm getting older now, I'm actually old, we look back and, you know, probably the best times of our lives, you know, those of us that have had children, or, you know, when the children are young and you go back and you see that, and he was such a good dad. He was a good husband, especially for what we had to do. I mean, it's like a crazy life. It's like being a rock and roll star, you know, and you traveling every night, but he couldn't wait to get home to his family. And, you know, a lot of great times just on all the water vehicles, Lear jets, limousines, all the kind of stuff that, you know, you think about Hollywood or something, you know, we got to experience that. We enjoyed that together, and Terry was just, you know, always nonstop, and he was nonstop. You know, we went to his 70th surprise party. Nick, his wonderful son Nick, and Sky, beautiful wife Sky, current wife, had a surprise party, his 70th birthday, and you know, he was so alive. He had just been through lots of surgeries and lots of difficult things, but still found joy in life, but never wanted to slow down, and that's kind of what hurt him really bad, was just the constant, you know, keeping up with. He had a new beer, Hulk Hogan beer. He just had so many irons in the fire, and you know, when you're 70 years old, it's, you know, you're not 20 anymore, but your mind's always thinking like you're 20.
I can relate. I gotcha. Yeah. I'll tell you what. We have one more break. We'll come back with our last segment. I'm curious. I'm going to ask you, what match do you remember more than any other match that you've been in over the years? And we'll be back in 90 seconds and to look at your final forecast as well. So do you have one that you have that was?
I actually have two favorite matches.
Okay.
You want me to wait?
Well, yeah, let's wait.
Okay.
We're going to be back at 55:30 and 55:40, and we have to be out by 58. So we have 2 minutes to go through it. So Dan is asking, who does Brian like? And I don't know if you know this. Who does Brian like in either WWE or AEW wrestling nowadays? I'm impressed with how Cody Rhodes has become almost a face of WWE.
Well, Randy Orton is my favorite. I love Cody, of course. I've known Cody since he was a baby, and him and Dustin, you know, on Orange Grove Drive, Dusty Rhodes was huge here, Dennis, and yeah, there's a lot of great guys there, like CM Punk. I like just several. There's so much great talent now.
Yeah, and it's. Again, the one thing when I flip channels and I notice and I stop on it, the athleticism blows me away. I mean, everybody, you know, you get people say, oh, well, it's pre-decided or whatever. Maybe, but that does not diminish the athleticism that goes on in there at all. It's just crazy, especially stuff. I mean, I know y'all did a lot of the top rope stuff too, and a lot of the jumping. I mean, people love that. I mean, that seems to be a favorite. All right, we're back in 10. Yeah, we'll ask that question. What was your most memorable one? All right, we are back in 3, 2. How you doing, everybody? Last couple of minutes of DPL here with wrestling legend B Brian Blair, part of the Killer Bees. We're asking this in the break. What match would you say over the years, over the decades, was your most memorable?
Well, I had Hulk Hogan's first match with him in Chiefland, Florida, and back then they pulled a lot of jokes, and it was supposed to be a 15-minute time limit, and we were about gassed out waiting for the bell to ring at 15 minutes, and all of a sudden it says 15 minutes gone and 15 to go. They changed the time limit to 30 minutes. And you know, probably couple of the most exciting matches were with the Hart Foundation, one from Madison Square Garden that was a 30-minute time limit draw, which got Brett his big break, and he talks about it in his book. And another one for Saturday Night Main Event when Dick Ebersol and Vince collaborated on Saturday Night Main Event in LA when we put on the mask and switched for the first time for Mass Confusion. The Killer Bees created Mass Confusion, something normally only a bad guy could get away with, but the good guys got away with.
And would you say that was your highlight of your career, being part of the Killer Bees?
Oh, absolutely, because we were seen in like 180 nations.
Yeah.
So it's huge.
And then local guy. So again, for folks, I mean, there's people asking how, and we only have 45 seconds left. How do people get started? If a young person is interested in that, how do they get started in that?
Well, you go to a reputable school, you know, kind of Google and look for reputable schools, and you never know. You can go to a reputable school and blossom, and maybe go to wind up in Orlando and NXT, where WWE has a big training center, or where AEW in Ohio Valley has a training center. So, you know, pick out a good reputable local school so you're not spending too much on transportation, gas.
Sure.
They used to tell us it's not how much you make, it's how much you save.
Yeah. Good advice. Well, thank you so much for coming on. I truly, truly appreciate it. Great to meet you. I was a huge fan back in the mid-'80s. That was my time as well. So I used to love watching you guys on TV. Again, we're going to continue on Facebook because we do have some weather to talk about. Streamers, thanks for watching. Folks watching on the spot, have a great night. I'm off tomorrow, back on Friday on the next issue of DPL. All right, and we are in a break, and we are out.
All right, Dennis, I enjoyed it.
That was perfect. Thank you very much. Let me see if there's any other questions that we had. One more. What are your thoughts on ladies in wrestling now? Charlotte Flair, Ric Flair's daughter.
I think it's tremendous. You know, Leilani Kai, who was around when I was wrestling, and she's being honored at the Cauliflower Alley Club, the charity that I run, where we help wrestlers in financial need. We give away a lot of money and help a lot of wrestlers. Believe it or not, a lot of wrestlers that made a lot of money are in dire straits right now financially. And so we helped them, and back then we had Judy Martin, Leilani Kai. I mean, you have Moolah, who's older than water almost, and Mae West, and people that were long before my time. So lady wrestling has been around forever, and it just evolved. And Natty Neidhart, the Queen of Hearts, she's probably the most prolific, I would say, of all time, and my favorite female wrestler. Today happens to be her birthday, which I mentioned once, and just a great wrestling family, and grew up in the Dungeon in Calgary, which I mentioned, Calgary being a really difficult and very notable school where so many great talents come from. And Natty was trained there by some great people and has risen to she's had over a 20-year career on top, which is amazing.
Wow. Did you see the movie The Smashing Machine?
No, I did not.
Did not? Yeah, I saw it. Obviously, The Rock played, can't remember the main character's name, but I mean...
I've seen most of Dwayne's movies, and he's a personal friend, but don't tell him I didn't see it.
Yeah, it was actually very interesting.
Especially Atta, his mama.
Yeah, it was an interesting movie. I mean, and you know, there's been a lot of, well, unfortunately, you know, a lot of tragic movies about the, you know, history in terms of professional wrestling as well, but I have yet to see the Netflix documentary. I told myself I was going to watch it last night, and there was too much weather, but I'm going to catch it soon. So, again, thank you so much for coming out.
Absolutely,
I really
Dennis.
appreciate it. And you have a great night.
You too, my friend.
So, guys, there you go. That would be it. Quickly, let me go ahead and take the graphics on here. We can take one last look at radar. And, Brian, you can see if you're getting any rain at your house.
So, I hope so.
Let's see what we got here. Maybe not so much right now, but we definitely have some coming in over tomorrow morning. I'll show you Futurecast one more time. Here it is. And then I'm actually going to go watch the Hurricanes and the Canadians are playing. They start pretty soon. So there's a look at the overnight. Still some rain rolling in. And there's 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m. Really good chance of rain tomorrow morning. And then in the afternoon, everything starts to move over to the East Coast. So Allie will be in tomorrow. Tomorrow is my son's IB awards night for graduation, so I'm going to be doing that. Monday night, throwing out the first pitch at the Rays game, and my daughter Ryan is singing the national anthem. So on Friday, I will have all the information, but the game first pitch is 6:40 on Monday. Again, I have not picked up a baseball since the last first pitch that I threw at the Rays game last August. So I got to get out there and at least loosen up a little bit. And but again, Ryan's singing the national anthem, and I'll give you the information on all the details and some tickets and some discounts and whatnot coming up on Friday. So you guys have a great night. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on tomorrow night's. Now, Allie will see you on tomorrow night. I'll see you on Friday on Dennis Phillips Live. Have a great night.